find Shannon High.
Downey, this is your team. Please meet us at Dairy Queen. We miss you, Downey.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, is a monumental day in SHANON and American history. Today, we are in a courtroom to discuss the reputation of a longtime friend, George Glover. We must decide if George is a dog or a gentleman. While the debate may have gone on for eternity, we are going to decide it today. Representing the dogs today, we have a familiar face and a new one, Sammy Williamson and Max Widley. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Doing great, dude.
Glad to have you guys on the show. And representing the gentlemen, we have Owen Singley. He's a gent in every sense of the word. Thank you for being here today, Owen.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And the man who is responsible for us being here, George Glover. George, welcome to the courtroom.
Hey. What's up, Shannon and everyone? Hello.
I will be the judge and moderator for this trial, and throughout the program, we will have two different witnesses who will give their testimony on George's behavior and reputation. So now, I'm going to go to George. Now, George, please let everyone know what you are pleading today and what you have to say to all the viewers and the people here in the courtroom.
My plea?
Yes.
Man, I've always wanted to be a gent, and to be fair, I thought I was a gent. And this morning, I even got a snap from the gents group chat, which I'm in. So I think I'm already a gent, and this is
really
all useless. But you know, let's go ahead.
Before that snap, when was the last time you got a snap from that chat, George? We're now going to move on to the opening statement. We're going to start with Owen Singley from the gentleman. Please, Owen, give us your opening statement. You're defending George in this scenario. You are going to be being his advocate on why he should be a gentleman and a part of the group.
Yes. All right. George Glover, a story of perseverance. Although George often had the deck of life stacked against him, he always made the most of his situation. When faced with the challenge of paying family bills, George put his education to the side and became a humble North Carolina construction worker. When faced with the decision to continue his education, 2 years later, he accepted in an act of self-improvement. When faced with the fact that his age prevented him from playing baseball for his new sport, he did not complain. Rather, he accepted his new position willingly and gave more effort than some of the kids who made the team. Despite his unideal circumstances, George has found ways to succeed, proving his place as a gent.
Case closed.
Stop it. Shut up. That was beautifully done, Owen. Thank you for the statement. And now I'm going to turn to Sammy. Please give an opening statement for George as to why he is, in your mind, a dog.
I mean, first of all, anybody and everybody who knows George cannot put gent and his name together. As he said he thought he was a gent. He was never certain that he was a gent. He was never able to, neither was Owen ever able to put a specific time or circumstance of George being a gent into place.
Right.
George, you're toast.
So if that's all you got, George, you're done, man.
I got Owen. I got Owen.
Oh, wait, hold on. We'll wait for the questions. All right, Max.
I'm up.
Max, please.
All right. I was writing down some facts, you know. George had a girlfriend, so I don't think any gent has done that. And he's always rode with the dogs to practice. He's never took the bus like the gents.
Right. Those are two facts that are against George in this case. I appreciate you guys both sharing your opening statements. And now we're going to turn to the...
He said,
I'm sorry?
like, gents never had a girlfriend. Or always had a girlfriend. Wait, what was that?
No, he said a gent has
George has no idea what's going on.
I said George had a girlfriend. No gent has done that.
Oh,
Shannon never had a girlfriend?
Shannon,
I'm
okay.
not involved in this. I am a judge and
Exactly.
moderator in this debate. That was inappropriate for you to try to drag me onto a side there. But now we're going to carry on with this trial, and I'm going to welcome our first witness to the witness stand. That is going to be longtime Kubasaki baseball manager, spent a long time alongside George in the dugout and at the practice field. This is Chante Brooms, and I think she has a lot to say about George's character. Chante, please, welcome to the show.
Hi. I don't know how to start with George. I don't know how to start.
No issue. I can start with some questions, I think, and then we'll move into some questions from directly the gents and the dogs.
Okay.
First one, how would you describe George in one word?
Old. I don't know. He's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So whenever George was a part of the Kubasaki baseball team, what do you think was most prevalent about his character, do you think, while he was out there?
He was hardworking.
Right,
Very
right.
hardworking.
He was hardworking.
Yes. And how did you like working alongside George?
It was good until like we had an altercation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. Remember whenever he was like dating Arissa, and he like.
Wait. Pause. I'm not sure if the fans heard that. I think you should say that one more time, just so everyone can be clear. I think you cut out a little bit, please.
Okay, remember when he was dating Arissa?
Oh, right. Yes.
I like
Continue.
introduced them, right?
Yeah.
And all he wanted to do is spend time with Arissa. Kind of a simp, kind of makes him a gent, right? He was crying over her,
That'd be well.
like in the parking lot.
Wait, are you saying gents are simps? I'm gonna have to slow you down there.
Oh,
I guess not, but yeah. And then I don't know. He kind of like switched up on me there.
So how did he treat you afterwards, now that he had another woman in his life?
Not any differently. He was just mean to me.
So how did you think their relationship was? Do you think it was a healthy relationship, Chante?
No. They always talk about each other.
Thank you, Chante. Now, Owen, do you have any questions? We'll start with you. Please, any questions for Chante?
Chante, do you believe George was the primary cause of that unhealthy relationship?
Yes.
Or could it have been the other person?
Sorry, George.
No hesitation.
It was you.
Okay. Let's go back to you working with George on the Kubasaki baseball managerial staff. So, you worked with George for the entire season, right?
Yes.
And who would you say worked harder, you or George?
Definitely George. He caught like every
Okay.
bat.
Correct, he did. And then at the end of the season, we got to choose one manager to go to Far East. And who went?
Me?
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Oh,
no.
George
Oh. The case
George
is crumbling.
has
Oh.
worked hard his entire life. He's always had struggles, but he's never been a complainer. I think that is enough to give him the name of Gent.
Wait, hold on. Didn't he like absolutely destroy Jaelyn's face?
Whoa. Your Honor, I think the witness is out of line here.
Chante, that is a very valid point, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Unfortunately, we can't have Jaelyn on the show today, but I think that is something that needs to be addressed. But first, I'd like to go to some questions from the dogs.
Chante,
Yeah.
would you, for the court, say how old George was at the time he was dating Arissa?
Oh my god.
Too old. An adult.
And and would you describe his character around, or his actions around the baseball team when we were warming up, or especially to two known people on the channel, T-Bear and Downey?
Yes.
Wait,
How
describe his
did-
actions
How
towards
did he treat the players that he didn't like?
terribly.
Terribly.
Oh,
Would he?
man.
Was he confident, arrogant? I guess all of those.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Very funny. Now you said.
Yeah.
Now you also said that he ruined, not necessarily ruined, but switched up on you when he started talking to Larissa. Would you say that?
Yeah.
It was kind of like a not a hit it and quit it. A dog move by one could say a dog move, and you describe him in one word as crazy. You never said gentlemanlike. You never said respectful.
He said old.
You did.
Yeah,
She said hardworking.
That was
She
not
said
the word.
hardworking.
That was, yeah. Which I'm pretty sure is 2 words. So.
But crazy is
There's a
word
dash.
to describe a dog. I rest my case. Max.
I have a question for Chunk here. When we went to Thailand, where was George like always? Was he always hanging out with the dogs or the gents?
As far as I know, he was hanging out with the dog.
This is for Chunk. This is for Chunk. This is for Chunk.
Chunk.
You weren't even there.
Oh,
He
Yeah.
was spending an extensive amount of time with the dogs, man. If I do say so myself.
May I speak?
Oh, George. Yes, please go ahead. Please say something.
I spent 80% of Thailand with Hoppy, who, Owen, please answer this, is a what?
A gent.
He is a gent.
He is
And I spent
one of the founding members of the Gents. And I specifically remember at the dinner we had in Thailand in the marketplace, George was sitting with the Gents.
I would
Because-
also I would like to add something. What did he say to Downey when Downey ordered George, would you say that before? What did you tell Downey?
I do not remember.
No, you know.
Oh, I remember.
I remember too, and I think any gent would take that corrective measure. George was 100% correct in saying that to Downey.
I mean, it was a mistake on Downey's part, and George had to do what he had to do. Did he say it in a blunt manner? I think that could be you could definitely say that. Now I want to get back to something else, which, George, I just want to hear your opinion on this, because Chante brought it up. You were in a batting cage with one of our managers who we all loved, especially Chunk. He really loved her. And you were taking some BP while we were at Far East. And once we got back from the trip, her face was all black and blue, and she said you did it. So I'm just kind of confused how that played out and why a gent would do something so malicious.
Right. Well, may I lay down the... No one knows the story. May I tell the story from that actual point of view?
Please.
All right, cool. All right. So, it was the day you guys got on the plane to go to Far East.
Yes.
Right? Sammy, as a great guy he is, left me the keys to the bug.
The bug.
The bug.
You left him the
Right?
keys to the bug.
Okay.
Why would you? Okay.
Hey.
He's a
He's a
dog.
dog. That's why.
All right, and then, what's up, man? Sorry. All right. So, Tor, since I could not play baseball with the Kubasaki team, he helped me out and hooked me up with a tryout for the local Japanese team, right? And that tryout was in like about a week or 2 away from this current date. So I was like, I want to get some work in. You know, as Chante says, I'm a hard worker. So I was like, all right, I want to, take a round at BP. And Jaelyn, being the closest thing to a friend, sounds bad.
oh my gosh.
She was close, yeah. And so she wanted to come along because her mans was also on the trip, Chunk. And so, all right. So we're doing BP. I'm hitting, and she's tossing it to me. Keep in mind, there's this cage that's about belly button high. That we all know. You just sit behind and throw. But she was not very.
The Japo screen.
Yeah. she didn't sit behind it. And I told her to, hey, you want to duck, because just in case I hit you. All right, and she did duck. But then after we ran out of balls and she went to collect them, the first one she threw, she did not duck. And
you hit her right in the face with a baseball.
I barreled that girl.
I barreled it, right? I'm not gonna lie. I don't hit soft. So it struck her straight into the dome. And she fell down, face first, just immediately. And my first thought was, she's dead.
You pissed on that ball. That was your first thought. You said you pissed on that ball.
I actually have the ball with me.
You keep the ball?
Yeah, it's always in my glove.
Oh my god!
With this ball.
Why would a gent ever do something?
Your Honor,
that's keeping the ball.
Your Honor, that's
to
evidence.
Remind him of his mistakes again.
Your Honor, let me let me just say something.
Please.
The first thing that George said after it happened was he said he veggie-tailed that girl.
False.
A term invented by a dog that means you knock the shit out of someone.
May I step in? May I step in?
Please, chunk to the witness stand. Yes.
Okay. So I remember I got off the plane, and we were in Korea, and we were going through customs, and we were in the line, and I didn't have cell service, so I connected to the Wi-Fi, and I see just this barrage of messages on my phone. And who would it be from, you would ask? It was from George.
Who would it be from? Right.
It was from George. And I opened them. The first picture I see is Jaelyn on the floor.
Take a picture of it.
She looked dead. Okay. He just texted me explaining the situation, and I was in utter shock. I had no clue what to say. I was dumbfounded. I just had no clue what was going on. But if you ask me, that was not a very gent thing to do.
Okay, I gotta get back to the story, and let me explain why what I did was a gent thing to do. Okay.
It better be
So
really
after
good.
I struck her, right?
Oh my god.
She was on the ground, okay, and the first thing I did, I was freaking out, right? But I couldn't freak out because if I was freaking out, you know who would freak out more?
You had time to send a picture.
She was
to Chuck.
dead.
No.
Hey,
You're like, hold up.
I have the floor.
I need to take a
alright?
picture of this.
All right, no. Okay, so I turn her over, right? Let me see if she's all right.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
She's all right? She's not crying. She's just holding her head. She says, "Ow," obviously, right? And then I'm like, "Okay, are you okay?" Because I can't freak out. Because if she freaks out more. And things get worse. So I have to stay calm, for her sake. So.
Maybe you were just unfazed by it. Okay, please continue.
Yeah. So and then I noticed the mark, right? The half a golf ball size welt between her eyes on her forehead.
It was bigger.
Probably.
We have a picture. Come on.
You made a meme. That's not very
Okay, all right. So first thing she does is ask oh my god, how big it is. So she asked me to take a picture. She asked me because no. We all know Jaelyn, all right? And I don't want to say whipped, and I don't want to say crazy, but those two words would perfectly describe how she felt towards our boy Chunk, right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Objection.
Nope.
George, please continue.
So the first thing she asked was to ask me to take a picture of her, right? Because she was freaking out. And when I showed her the picture, the first thought that went through her mind was, "Oh my god, Andrew's gonna leave me." That's all she cared about. She was crying because she thought our boy Chunk was gonna be like, and dip. And
Which he did.
And I'm like, okay.
We were all in the hotel.
Objection. This subject does not pertain to the case.
Andrew, you are not at the stand. Stand down. George, continue.
Okay. So, and me ignoring it, because obviously there's a bigger problem at hand, like her head. And so I call my mom immediately, who is a healthcare professional.
Don't call an ambulance? Okay.
My mom, who is a healthcare professional, who works at the hospital in the ER department. Immediately call her. I'm like, hey, what should I do? Right? And she's like, what happened? I'm like, I hit a ball and hit this girl's head. She's like, how hard? I said, I hit it. And she's like, oh, take her to the hospital, right? I'm like, oh, okay. I tell Jaelyn, I'm like, hey, we need to go to the hospital. She goes, no. Just take me home. Still freaking about our boy Chunk and how he's going to dip. So I'm like, are you sure? Like, I would think we really need to go to the hospital. She goes, no, take me home. I'm like, okay, fine. And the only reason why I took her home, because, like, picture this as a parent, right? Would you, one, either rather have your daughter walk up with a giant head from an accident and be like, hey, I think I need to go to the hospital? Or two, get a call from the hospital and be like, hey, your daughter was in an accident. And then that scares the parents more than anything. Okay, so I took her home.
Yeah,
There's some suspect things going on here.
I took her home, which she asked of me. And I'm like, okay, tell your parents you need to go to the hospital. And she did. She went to the hospital, and then she sent me a picture of her in a neck brace. And I screenshotted that. But
I also received that picture.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
All right. I just have a few questions, George, if you don't mind. I'm going to open up the
go
questions
ahead.
to everyone else.
Go ahead.
First of all, how long have you been playing baseball at this point? Like, how many years, you think, give or take a few?
17.
17. So, like, you've had enough experience to hit a ball, oppo, pull a ball, hit one up the middle. Like, this is
Yes, sir.
something that you were a good hitter as well. We all know this. And you know that there is a girl who is obviously standing above the Japo screen, and you decide to hit a predator missile right up the middle. I just wanted to know, like, there was no bad intentions there?
No bad intentions. What? I was so focused because on my tryouts, I really wanted to make the team, so I was really in the zone. And when she was behind the cage, she was safe, so I wasn't worried about her. And when she collected that balls, I was still in the zone. And that first pitch she threw at me where she was standing outside the cage, I didn't really think about it. So I just barreled it, and it was unfortunately hit her right in the dome.
I have a
You know,
question.
I just
Jet
think-
laser.
Your Honor, I have a question.
You're on.
Yes, please go ahead.
First of all, I recall that when we were in the cage, we were not aiming to hit jet lasers down the middle. I remember that we were playing.
Right.
We were in the cage to play for contacts. But for some reason, George, when he stepped into that cage, the only thing on his mind was, I'm going to
No
hit
Chunk
a
Stroke.
yopper. Your Honor, back to you.
That wasn't a question.
All right. I got
It was not a question. I'm okay with that. Oh, one more thing.
Oh.
Sammy, please. George, I just want to make it very clear. How old were you at the time?
It was 19.
19. So you were the adult in the room in this situation.
I was.
Yes. And you hit a girl in the head. She almost certainly has a concussion. We saw her later in a neck brace, and you thought it was best to take her back to her bedroom rather than a hospital.
I did not think that
Sammy,
was-
please go ahead.
Okay, I would just like to point out the judge seems very biased in this case. Biased against me and my client.
Oh, and we're
I am just assessing the information as I go.
George, I would just like to ask, at
Okay.
what time did you hit, or around what time did you hit Jaelyn in the head?
It was about right after school, around 2.
Right after
2:30.
school. And you at the time we're not talking to Arissa, but we're talking to another female. Is that correct?
This is true. Where are you going with this?
So right after you demolished and veggie killed,
And we are running out of adjectives.
where did you go after with the bug, and who did you go pick up to hang out with? Right after you veggie tailed.
I dropped her off at our house, which was her wish, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
My choice would have been taken to the
No,
hospital.
but who did you go hang out with?
No one.
That's Cap.
Not Cap.
You went and hung out with Jaelyn.
Hey, let me tell you this. Who went to Far
Other
East at the same
Jaelyn.
time the baseball team did? The softball team.
Oh,
point,
wow.
good
Oh, yeah.
There's
Okay.
holes in the story.
Silence.
Dang.
Wow.
Yikes.
Well, cut that one out, Shannon.
I can't do that.
I forgot you played softball.
Yo, cut that out.
Yo.
Get rid of that.
All right, Max, you gotta take it over. You gotta pull us back up.
All right, Max.
as Owen
Anything to say, and then we'll
said-
move on.
Wait, what?
Anything to say?
Okay, as Owen said in his opening statement about previous years of construction work, no gent has previous years of
Humble
construction work
construction work.
besides George.
Max's
Oh,
only cases are comparative statements. Never had a girlfriend. Never worked construction.
Owen, do you have anything to say about that?
I'm just wondering where Max is getting all his information about the gents.
Hey,
I'm
man, I
pretty
got
sure
this-
some
I
of the
got this
gents have
notebook
had
right here.
jobs before. Just because it wasn't a construction job doesn't mean that
His notes.
Your Honor, Your
Hey,
Honor,
George
I
is
want
not
to
a
ask a
gent.
question.
I don't know. When
Yes, Sammy.
George
George-
says, "Oh, go ahead."
Go, Max. Go.
All right. When George was saying he spent 80% of the time with Hoppy in Thailand, I have a video proof of George in a room with all the dogs giving me a lap dance. Actually. So if we want to show that on the show, that would be some evidence.
I think I will definitely need to show that video. You're welcome, guys. Yes, I mean, although that could have been within the 20% of the time he was spending with the dogs, I mean, giving a lap dance, that doesn't sound gently in any sense of the word.
It was a gentle lap dance.
Sammy, anything else on the matter?
George, just for the record, could you spell dog for us?
Me?
Yeah, spell dog.
D-O-G.
No, you know. George, stop. Spell it correctly.
That is the correct way.
D-A-W-G.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
George, are you trying to lose this?
No, I just can't lie. Am I under oath?
You know why? Because he's
I don't need to be under oath.
Can't lie with dogs.
Wait, George, we have to put him under oath, guys, before we go any further.
No,
this is very
I'm a
irresponsible of me.
gent.
No. You're what?
I'm a gent.
Okay. We're gonna move on to our next witness, who has already been chimed in a little bit. We're gonna give him his due time at the stand. Andrew Barnes, do you have any statement to make regarding George?
Just want to let everyone know that out of anyone in this courtroom, I've probably spent the most time with George, conversating with him, assessing his actions, so you know that my word is truth. So yeah.
Understandable. And all this time you spent with George Glover, what does he mean to you, and what do you think he is deep down?
So deep down, not really that deep, but it's pretty obvious. George is 100% a dog at heart. On the outside, you may look at him and be like, "Oh, he's a gent." No, he's definitely a dog.
Right. And do you have any specific evidence that you want to cite for this, or we just go back to George and have him defend himself here for a moment?
So, basically, there is this almost there's this trend with dogs, and that is that they flame the ever living crap out of anyone on the team. Gents not so much. Gents, Owen, Isaac, Poppy, they're so respectable. They're so nice. They don't say anything. If you mess up, they don't say anything. No, with dogs, we rail into them. And I remember, George, you'll remember this as well. This was my junior year, when we didn't really have a team. There was a kid named Alex, and he was pitching. He wanted to pitch, and Tor let him because he knew that the season was getting canceled. And Alex, he was a lefty, so by nature, George, being a lefty as well, he would help him.
Oh, that's very nice.
Very
So-
gently, I would say.
Oh no!
Shut up, Owen.
So George is right next to him, and Alex, every single time he would throw a pitch, he would make this sound. He would go, and then he would also make this face, like, right? He would make this absurd face, and I was having a field day with this one. I was just going off because I was catching his bullpen. And George, might I add, was also having a field day. he would not let it go. He just kept going into him. I almost felt bad, but I did not. And it was
what he was saying.
Hmm?
For the record, can you say what he was telling Alex?
I just remember that he was making fun of the face he was making and the sound. Every single time he would pitch, me and George would both simultaneously go, because it was very fun. Thank you.
Wow. I remember firsthand experience. George would do the same thing to other guys on the field. I used to have a radio show that I'd run in the dugout, and George would be very quick to share his judgment on other people in the field, which I thought was irresponsible at the time. But here we are in the courtroom. I appreciate the insight you gave us there, Andrew, and I know you're a longtime friend of him. Does anyone have any questions for Andrew? The dogs, you can go first if you'd like, since Owen went first for the last question.
Max, take it.
How would you describe the PMO group chat with George in it?
For legitimate legal reasons, I won't go into too much detail, but I could say that there were not very many gently things that were going on in that group chat.
And for the record, George, which group chat were you a part of first, PMO or Gent?
PMO.
There it is.
Owen,
Yes.
any questions for the Chunkulus?
Let's see. So Andrew, you mentioned something about how Chunk. So you mentioned something about how George would help his teammates, like he helped Alex. I noticed similar things when I played with George. George would help out some of the younger kids. He would make fun of them at times, but I think that was just George's way of helping them learn when they did something right and helping them know that they better not make the same mistake or else they're gonna get made fun of. So I think George just has a unique teaching style that he wants to help his teammates get better.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
He's frozen.
Chunk.
Did we lose Chunk?
No.
I think I heard him say he would agree. You guys
I
heard
think
that,
so.
right?
I think so as well.
I don't think I did.
I did not.
Yes, thank you, Owen. The odds are definitely stacked against Owen so far, I would say, but definitely doing the best he can with the situation. Andrew just texted me. Let's see what he has to say. He's like, please let me back in.
Good one.
Let me check
His
your
device needs.
texted me.
His device needs
Is he
to
on a
restart.
PS4? Or is that what is that?
I think it's a
It's
PC.
a little laptop.
Okay.
It'll be restarted. It's at 0% complete. What a shame. We're gonna wrap things up now. Just some final statements. First, I want to start with George. George, do you have anything to say about all this evidence that is being pushed against you?
It's not looking good, man.
I have one thing to add.
Yes.
So there were multiple occasions during the beginning of my junior year where George showed up to my church. He showed up to my youth group twice. And
Wow.
I think he came Sunday once. So I would just like the judge to consider that in his decision.
Yes.
You ever seen a dog in church open?
Do you think he may have went to confession possibly to tell the priest of what he's done?
Have you ever seen a
It's
dog?
not
in
that
church
kind of
open?
church.
No,
Can I say something?
yes, Max, please.
We're talking about the bug, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure every dog has driven the bug.
Ooh.
Me, Sammy.
Oh.
I think Andrew drove it. Nick's, I know, reversed it.
Nick crashed it.
And George was saying how he drove it. So I just wanted to state that.
Only dogs drive the bug. Okay.
More comparison.
Another more, yeah. Yes.
Recently, George and I have been going out to lunch, and usually he pays for all my food, so that's pretty gently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would say that is pretty gently.
That is gently.
Ouch.
Wow.
Where did he take you?
Chili's.
And
And what and?
oh my god, never mind.
Exactly. There we go.
Blue Seal.
Oh yeah, and Blue Seal. And Blue Seal.
Like a $2
Oh, that's
bill.
very nice of him, though. Hey, Max.
Come on, Max.
You were not called on to speak. I will remove you from this courtroom. All right, now, Chante, thank you for sharing that tidbit. And now we're going to move on to our final remarks and then the ultimate verdict, which I'm going to let everyone know and the fans know how I see this ruling. Sammy, do you have any final things to say about George and his gentliness or dogness?
I think we got to let the evidence speak for himself. He's a dog. I mean, I don't understand how some look at him shaking his head. I don't understand how you could rule him as a gent. I mean, every dog does something nice for somebody occasionally, but deep
Just an
down,
accident.
it's an accident. You don't think, but every dog knows that George is a dog.
I need
Max.
coffee, man.
I mean, it's obvious, right? Sammy just said it all. He's obviously a dog.
Owen?
So, we talked a lot about some of the mistakes George has made in his life, but I think
They
it's
weren't mistakes.
unreasonable to expect every gent not to make a few mistakes in their life. I think Shannon, me, and Isaac have all made mistakes at some point in our life,
I think Shannon.
and I think George has had his fair share of mistakes, but he's also redeemed himself some. So I think he can be considered a gent.
All right. Chante, you have any last things to add?
No, not really. George is both, but more dog-like.
You're horrible at this.
We like to hear.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I have a question.
George, you asked a
For
question
Owen.
and any last words?
Yeah, for Owen. Owen, is Shannon a dog or is Shannon a gent?
Whoa, that is not what this is
Not
about.
as our judge, but as our friend. Is
As our friend, I think Shannon is a gent.
Shannon's a gent.
Yes, sir.
I think-
Yes, sir.
Just
And
like
I'm not gonna
you,
go into any
he's had
detail.
his fair share
Yep.
of mistakes sometimes,
Mhm.
but he's redeemed himself.
Mm.
I would
Why
like-
do you think I'm so good in the courtroom scene?
Because you're a dog.
I thought
This
about
is,
making a joke like this is the second biggest case Kubasaki has seen.
Oh,
We like to
we
hear
have to cut
Owen.
that. We have
We
to
like
cut
to
that,
hear.
Owen.
Repeat it for us.
George, any last words, George?
I wish Hoppy was here.
Yeah, we all do. George,
I think I'm so
my
smart.
final verdict.
Okay.
You, my friend, you're a fucking dog.
DOG?
I'd like
Case closed.
case closed. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to remove you from the Gents group chat right now, and I hope you'll never have the opportunity to ever flex that again because that's disgusting that you used one chat as your evidence.
he probably
I'd like to thank everyone. Yes.
made the chat too.
Yeah, he made the chat, added us to it. Whatever, George. I'd like to thank all you guys for being here. I'd like to thank Owen especially for being George's advocate in this very tough case. Props to Owen. Props to Max for making the worst comparisons for 45 minutes straight.
Yeah, I've had a girlfriend before, Max. So
No.
At Kubi.
As is Shannon.
at Kubi, I guess. Okay.
As did
I'd
Hoppy.
like to thank
Oh, yeah.
Sammy as well from calling from preschool classroom at his new university.
You know it.
I'm glad you're getting that upper level education.
I'm learning shape.
And yes, I'd like to thank you, Chante, as well for joining us. It's always good seeing you and having you on the show. Hope to see you again on the show. And of course, I'd like to thank George for being here at his own misery. And I'm sorry the
Fucking
ruling didn't go
Hoppy,
in your favor.
man.
And of course, thanking Chowder Barnes, even though he's no longer here. And that is this episode of the Shannon Show. Thank you guys all for watching. Make sure to subscribe and check in next week. We're going to have a very special guest. Angelina Parker is joining the show. Thank you.
No way.
No way. Get Charlie